remember on the live. Y'all got a lot of the same features.
But no, it's 6. So I think we're gonna get started soon. Hopefully everybody's having a good mix of like rainy, sunny day as we transition to fall. We got our first rain, and in the Bay, it's like the world is ending when it rains here. So, but it's a nice change of pace, nice season. But yeah, welcome in everyone. Yeah, it's 6. I think we're gonna launch and get started because I know we have a lot to get into today. So yeah, Michaela Patton, she, her, hers, the youth co-chair. Lots of work meetings, so I couldn't make it in today, but as always, happy to be here. Yeah, this is meeting number 24. So we're really getting into the thick of things. I think we can go to the next slide. As always, our meetings are we have interpreters on the meeting. So I'll pass it to the interpreters for instructions.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure. My name is Brittany. I'm one of your Spanish interpreters, alongside with my colleague, Miss Gigi. We will both be serving you in the Spanish portion of the meeting. So we may have a mixture of monolingual speaking people. So for those of you, and I'll repeat the instructions in Spanish. For those of you that speak only English, the function's not on just yet, but once the function is on the bottom of your screen, or sometimes at the top of your screen, you will see 3 dots or an icon that looks like a little globe. You'll click on it. You'll click on interpretation. And then from there, you will click on English. And then from there, you'll click on mute original audio to avoid hearing a few voices at the same time. And then you'll hit done. Please let us know if you have any technical issues, as we are happy to assist. And I will also place the instructions in the chat momentarily in case you forgot the instructions, or if you need to reference it one more time. Thank you. Muy buenas tardes, buenas noches. Es un placer. Mi nombre es Brittany, soy uno de los intérpretes, juntamente con mi colega señorita Gigi. Nosotras dos vamos a proporcionarles servicios de interpretación en español el día de hoy. Ahorita, ya que se entiende la función, usted va a ver un icono en su lado derecho de la pantalla. Puede estar en el lado de encima o de abajo, dependiendo qué tipo de aparato usted usa. Puede ver 3 puntitos, puede ver un globito, puede ver, dependiendo qué es lo que usted va a ver. Si usted hace clic, usted va a ver interpretation o interpretación. Usted va a hacer clic en español o Spanish. Después usted va a hacer clic en Mute Original Audio para evitar de que escuche varias voces a la misma vez. Y después va a poner Done o Finalizar. También juntamente voy a poner las instrucciones en la cajita de diálogo en un momento, ya que enciende la función. Muchas gracias y déjenos saber si necesita ayuda. Que disfruten. All yours.
Thank you. So yeah, the function should be on soon, so make sure you're hitting the correct channel. I think also throughout the meeting, if we float between breakout rooms, make sure you're in the right channel too, because I know sometimes it switches. But yeah, welcome to the meeting. As always, I'm joined by my co-chairs in person, Ayana and Mr. Charles. So yeah, they're there waving. Sounds like there was some good conversation going. Also, Raven put in the chat a survey, sign-in sheet. So make sure to sign in, and then also make sure to do the survey at the end of the meeting as well. So yeah. So yeah, meeting objectives. We're focusing on 2 focus areas. So as y'all know, we're really in the strategy development, action development stage. So looking at these strategies, looking at these focus areas, giving some input, and then seeing kind of like implementation efforts and agency response is the kind of meeting objectives for today. Next slide. So yeah, for the agenda, we're in the welcome portion right now. We'll have a recap of the past meeting. We're going to be talking about illegal dumping, trash, odors today, which I know is a really big focus area that people are interested in. We're going to have a lot of time to kind of talk through those strategies, and then we're going to do a break. Hopefully we get to it, and then report outs from the outreach and engagement activities that have happened the past couple of months, and then next steps for our next meeting. So yeah, just our agreements as always, one mic, one voice, make sure you're muted if you're on Zoom. If you're in person, make sure you're just like being respectful of other folks speaking. There's also the raise hand feature on Zoom and reactions and all that kind of stuff. Have grace for yourself and also each other. Take care of yourself, bio breaks, water, food, all that kind of stuff. Make sure to introduce yourselves in the chat, all that community building stuff. And we will be trying to popcorn too. So yeah, practice, if you've been speaking a lot, be mindful of that so we can hear from some other voices also. And if you ever have questions, you can drop them in the chat and someone on staff will respond. So yeah, like I mentioned, drop your name, pronouns, and any affiliated organizations in the chat. If you're in person, hopefully y'all have been eating together and chatting with each other. So yeah, also there's the reactions for more fun stuff. Cool. And I think that's my portion. So I'll actually pass it to Alicia to kind of walk through the timeline.
Good evening. I'm Alicia, and I am looking here at this schedule on the screen. And so we're in Q4, so Q4 of 2024. So the end of the year is rapidly approaching, and we're in the strategy development phase. So we'll be in that phase for a couple more months in the new year. And then we'll transition into draft plan by about July. So wrapping up strategy development and in the kind of end of 2024 and beginning of 2025, and then transitioning into like an actual draft plan. So this is the time to get busy. Any questions, or should I slow down at all? Or
No, we like getting busy.
all right. All right. Thank you.
All right, hey everyone. Nice to see everyone tonight. My name is Carly Cabral. I'm with CBE as the East Oakland Clean Air Project Coordinator for AB 617. And I'll be going over, as usual, our recap from the last meeting, which was CSC 23. You can go to the next slide, please. So yeah, just a quick recap of the last meeting, which was October CSC 23. We had two main parts of our meeting, one of them being that the CSC and East Oakland community members reviewed draft objectives for transportation and mobile sources, as well as built environment and land use, so 2 out of 5 of our focus areas. The Air District also gave a presentation to explain strategy objectives and examples of how those objectives have worked in other community emission reduction plans, such as Path to Clean Air and West Oakland Community Action Plan. Our activity for CSC 23 involved CSC members and other East Oakland community members providing feedback on draft strategy objectives of the 2 focus areas, transportation, mobile sources, and built environment and land use. Go to the next slide, please. Thank you. And then another main part of our meeting was that we had a charter amendment vote on changing the youth definition. So the new charter language was sent to all CSC members. And, if you need that information again, just feel free to email me. The CSC charter amendment vote passed unanimously to change the CSC charter language of the definition of youth and allow 1 more youth to be on the CSC. The language now says 5 youth representatives aged 24 years or younger when selected as a youth steering committee member. And go to the next slide. Thank you.
Okay, part of what we want to do tonight is we want to introduce the topic of illegal dumping, trash, and odors as an important issue to talk about as part of this process. Next slide, please. And so what we're doing today is giving you like broad strokes overview, okay, broad brush overview. And so we don't have a lot of details about illegal dumping at this time. We haven't, we're still in this kind of like information collection phase, but we wanted to begin by talking about and highlighting the community generated data related to illegal dumping. So you'll see on the screen that this is the pins that were identified based on the pinpoint mapping that was done earlier in the planning process. And I'm just curious, does anyone remember doing that, like dropping a pin or just that part of the process? Could you put a hand up online?
Only pin locations.
Yeah, when you did the mapping, do you kind of remember doing that? Okay, great. Okay. So this is a map that highlights just the pins that were related to dumping or illegal dumping or trash and things like that. So here we have, you can see that it spans, like those pins are all across the plan area, okay? And then you also see kind of some concentration around Foothill, okay? So that's what our community generated data is showing. And so just, this really underscores the importance of this issue in our community. Yes.
So this is the information that we accumulated last year being actually used now.
That's right.
Because I just wanted to make that clear, because I know a lot of CSC members were asking, what are we doing with that mapping?
Yeah.
And this is a way of explaining to them how we're using it.
That's right. And tonight we're showing you that, look, we've extracted all the pins that only related to illegal dumping. And so what we're doing next, we'll get to in a couple of slides. So one of the things that we want to do is we want to make sure that what's that?
No, the question.
Maybe somebody was off.
Okay, sorry. So we want to be clear about the authority for illegal dumping, and that is that, illegal dumping is really the authority of the city of Oakland to address. And so we made initial contact with Public Works and have heard from them that they have, a three-tiered approach to address illegal dumping. It includes education, it includes kind of cleaning up illegal dumping, and then enforcement. So looking at video footage of illegal dumping that's caught on camera. But most importantly in this slide is the number to call when you are noticing that there is illegal dumping around. So at the bottom of the slide, oops, I'm sorry, can you go to the next slide?
I'm not.
Oh,
The next slide.
next slide, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm not that. So, okay, here we go. So anyway. So yeah, so then at the bottom of the slide is the number to file your complaints for illegal dumping. And so there's the phone number, there's 311, and then there's the email address. And so we want to make sure that that we are the the eyes and ears and nose of these agencies. And so we need to make sure that we're being very diligent in making our complaints heard. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so right, we are, as the Air District, have some tools to bear here in this conversation around illegal dumping. And so one of the things that we can do is one of the things that we wanted to demonstrate is that we have kind of like an indirect authority, if you will, around some issues that are related to illegal dumping. And basically, as an Air District, the things that we would be kind of contributing to or involved in would be related to burning. So if there is trash burning, that's when it would be the right time to call the Air District, because we have a rule, Regulation 5, that prohibits burning of trash. So that means backyard, all of that is really not supposed to happen. And then the other thing in terms of the authority of the Air District is that the Air District has an enforcement arm. And so, but the enforcement really relates to enforcing the regulations and the permits and the things that the Air District is responsible for as it relates to operations that generate emissions. Okay, so that's going to be odors, dust, particles, smoke, and other air quality concerns. And if we get a complaint that falls outside of those things, right, such as illegal dumping or mold or insect infestation, then we refer it to the appropriate agency. So in the case of illegal dumping, we'd be contacting Public Works. Okay.
That's what I wanted to ask. Like, what agencies, do we have a list of agencies in which we report things of that sort? to?
Yes, I asked that specific question and they call Public Works.
Okay, for every occasion?
And the other thing they were saying is that, like, for example, if there was, you know, a car fire or something like that, like an abandoned car that, you know, it's like, we're not first responders. That's the other thing. So that would go to the fire department, you know, so there's, you know, other agencies that are in
Is
there.
there a way that we can unify everything under one umbrella where they can call and report and then we outsource it?
Well, that's something we talked about in West Oakland often, in terms of coordinated enforcement. So we can definitely
for East
explore
Oakland.
that. Yeah.
And what impact does 311 have on issues like that?
I am not an expert on 311, but we can definitely take that note and follow up with Public Works on that.
I'd like to say this, 311 is fine if you have a cell phone. If you have a cell phone, that number's no good. You have to dial 510,
And then 311.
615,
Oh, 6.
55, that's what, 5566. That's the only way you get through.
Okay.
Because a lot of people do not have cell phones, especially the elderly people. They have only landline phones. I found that out myself, dialing that number.
Okay. Through a landline or a cell phone?
I have a landline.
Okay.
That's why I'm
Okay,
saying,
okay.
I dialed that 311 and I couldn't get it.
Doesn't, okay, all right.
And so they told me what I had to do.
The
I
other
called Public
thing,
Works.
excuse me, I didn't mean to step on.
That's
you,
all
Mr.
right.
City. The other thing I wanted to say is, could we have someone from their office be able to show us what the impact of 311 calls have been?
We can take that note. Yes, Annie?
Niche reminds me to note things happening in the chat, and I just want to
Oh, thanks.
call attention to that, Alicia.
Yeah, I
Not
was gonna
all,
say
but some.
some hands on Zoom also.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so there's a comment about other agencies like Caltrans who play a role
Okay.
in this issue, and then
I think really quick, there's also a quick technique, but it's hard to hear people in person if they're not close to the mic when they're speaking. So yeah, if folks can come closer to the mic or the laptop, or I guess if people can like repeat the comments after they're said.
Or use your
Or project
outside
your
voice?
voice.
If you're in the meeting, you might just, well, I think that'll really mess everything up.
But yeah, I just was, Michaela, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's okay for me.
Okay, I was just, so then also, folks were just noting that Leela is in the room online and can also help answer questions if needed.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that would be a good idea for us to have transportation come out to talk with us. It's Public Works, I'm getting, Public Works, I want to say, they're the one that's over that particular program. And they give good information, because I have been in other meetings where they have come out to speak with the community
Okay.
about illegal down there. And they will be glad to come out to do that. They're really good about that.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide.
Oh, I think there was some hands still online.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe Cynthia, looks like Cynthia's first.
Yeah, I can go. Hi, good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. I just wanted to speak on this issue of 311. I am regularly on the app to the point where my neighbors make jokes about it because they always see me reporting the mattresses and everything, right? And I'm really excited that we're talking about this issue because I feel as someone like myself who uses this app regularly and has seen it work, unfortunately, the sites that have the illegal dumping persist and they continue, and there's no sort of accountability, there's no sort of cameras in the area, there's like nothing, right? It feels like I'm putting a bandage on a pile of garbage every week. And so as much as I would love to hear from these folks and them sharing their data and once again sharing their phone number and their app, I would really love to hear a commitment of prioritizing Deep East Oakland, District 6, District 7, in coming here a little faster, because I mean, I've put 311 on burnt vehicles in front of preschools here in Arroyo Viejo. It's horrific. So yes, education is important, but some of us are kind of a couple steps ahead of that, and we just want a little bit of lasting results. Thank you.
Thank you,
Cynthia,
Cynthia.
what area are you in? Sorry.
I am in District 6, Arroyo Viejo, right around the corner from Arroyo Viejo Park.
So the dumping by the church, is that what you're?
No, they're dumping right by the baseball fields area of Arroyo Viejo Park.
Okay, I'll take
Yeah.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it looks like then it's Gabrielle, Marina, and Carol that have comments, so I don't know how much, yeah, anyway, just wanted to say that. So Gabrielle,
Thank you. I have a question. So sorry, I'm gathering my thoughts. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, I asked something in the chat and you mentioned, Carly, that there will be somebody from the city that we're just getting an intro to illegal dumping right now. And, so what I'm trying to understand is that, is the city, well, I mean, kind of what Cynthia said, is the city making a commitment? Is this something we can incorporate in a meaningful way into our SERP? Is the city actually going to partner with us on this? Does the city have the resources to do this? Does the city have a plan to follow through while there's a lot of transitions going on in leadership after the election, when we're going to have like somewhere between, we're going to have like at least 1-2 mayors in the next few months, you know? And yeah, I'm just trying to figure out, like, I'm going to be honest, seeing that slide being like, here's the number, it's about education, so on and so forth. It's like, we all know that number. I think everybody, I'd be surprised if anybody doesn't know how to report illegal dumping. So I want to know, like, kind of what's going to change, because I'm not hearing anything that sounds like it's going to change. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
We don't market 311 enough. I think people don't know about that. We do because we're connected and we do environmental justice, but anybody outside the realm has no idea how to report. So I think we need to do some kind of campaign where we bring awareness to 311. Because people in the neighborhood have absolutely no idea. They'll see it, but they don't know how to deal with find solutions. So we need to give them those solutions.
And we are also looking to do studies to prove the environmental. Hello?
No, it was
Okay.
actually.
Yeah, so we're also trying to make sure that we can equate the health impacts with the environmental dumping hazards. And when you can prove that, then that brings up also the nuisance impact that we can have against the city to force them to clean up those areas. So it's not just about what we're asking people to do. As a community, we can demand that they do their job. And that's what I believe that we're here for. Not to just ask them, but to demand that they do their job, because it's killing our people.
It is.
And we can prove it.
yeah, just to know also that Marina and Carol have been waiting to speak,
Okay.
online.
Thank you.
So if we want to go to Marina.
Please.
Marina?
Sí, puedo ya, claro que sí, ¿verdad? Qué bueno que se mencionó este tema, y siempre estoy yo, ¿verdad? Observando que necesitamos tener de invitada a la ciudad, al que hace la planificación, ¿verdad? O también a nuestros distritos, ¿verdad? Porque yo vivo aquí en el distrito 7 del East Oakland. Y la verdad estoy cansada, óiganlo bien, estoy cansada de llamar al 311 de reportar la basura. Pero ¿qué pasa? Reporto una, me la recogen y a la otra noche ya está otra vez el tiradero. Es algo increíble y ahora me preocupa más porque son partes de carro. Está ahorita un carro desbaratado en 3 partes. ¡Qué barbaridad! Estoy enojada porque ¿dónde está la cámara? Yo pedí hace tiempo a la ciudad una cámara porque están haciendo cosas ilegales aquí en mi calle, quemando carros, y a veces ya nomás oímos los tronidos cuando estamos durmiendo y tenemos miedo que nos llegue hasta la lumbre a nuestra casa. Entonces, la verdad necesitamos hacer algo, porque ya todos los vecinos, todos los que conocemos este 311, estamos cansados. ¿De qué sirve? Que hoy llamo, llevan la basura y al otro día está igual. Nunca voy a acabar, ya al último me estoy cansando yo de tanto reportar. Pero yo tengo fotos de toda la quemazón que ha habido aquí en mi casa, afuera, y debajo del freeway queman hasta de 2 carros. Y todo eso nos está contaminando. No, no, es una cosa muy fea esto. Y estoy molesta porque la ciudad de Oakland no hace nada. Hay que traer también como dicen a los demás, al condado de Alameda, al tránsito, al de tránsito, ¿verdad? Al Caltras, para ver qué solución también nos pueden dar para que nos ayudemos. Yo creo que entre todos unidos debemos de hacer algo para limpiar nuestra comunidad, nuestra área que está siendo perjudicada por tanto carro quemado. Gracias.
Thank you.
And there's one more hand from Carol.
Hi, yeah, I wanted to speak to this. So I see the biggest problem that I'm seeing is it stems from people who are unhoused, are not getting the support services they need. There's not enough mental health services, there's not enough housing, and instead of us being able to find a way to house them and get them services, and it's going to get worse now that we have Trump as president. The solution has been, and I know this because I went to one of my community meetings maybe 3 months ago now, and Councilperson Shriva Reed, who is, has resigned, she said that they are providing, the city provides, the fire department provides hoses, like extensions that go onto the fire hydrants on the street that they are giving to the unhoused who have trailers, so that they can hook up their trailers to the connection and fill up their trailers so that they have water, so that they can shower. And so theoretically it's a good concept, but it's not helping the problem. They're not getting the services they need. The other thing that I found out is that there is at least one company that actually sells these used campers. That's why we're seeing campers everywhere, because someone is actually selling the campers to the unhoused. And that was seen as another solution to allow people to have a place to live. But again, it's not solving the problem because the mental illness is not being addressed. At this neighborhood meeting I was at, where the council person was saying, brought up these things, I was told to, and there was a police officer there. He said to, contact. So I wrote an email letter to the mayor, to the city council person, to the police department, to the fire department. I had like all these different groups, and one of the 7 entities that I sent it to responded, "We're working on it." So after about 3 months, well, I guess it was maybe 4 months ago, I went to the meeting. After 3 months, they moved their trailers maybe 4 blocks from here. They moved all but one trailer out, one person out. And that person that they left there had 3 trailers. They now have 5 trailers. And one person who started the encampment over there actually bought another trailer and moved back in. So now we're down to 3 trailers, but one person has as 5 trailers instead of 3. And again, it's you know, I was told it's going to be fixed, and they're not fixing it. So, you know, I think we can insist that it's our right, and it's the right of the unhoused to get the services they need. I just don't know what to do at this point. I'm frustrated too. So I'm not going to ramble anymore, but I wanted you all to know that there are these short-term solutions that have been put in place, which are, in my opinion, exacerbating the problem that the unhoused are having because we're not getting the services they need. That's it. Thank you.
Do you know where that location is with the trailer situation?
Oh, where I'm talking about? Yeah, it's on Bernhard, right along the wall at 98th and at the 880 and 98th exit, but within the south
Is it by the wash
southeast
house?
quadrant. By the where?
By the wash house?
No. It's no. It's more in the quadrant right at 880 and the and 98th. And the southeast quadrant. It's not that far over. It's not over by Eads. So I mean that's just one instance as an example, but you know it's happening all over the city.
Right.
So yeah.
We have about 5 more minutes left.
I'll look at it.
Alicia has just a couple more slides.
No,
Looks like that was the last hand on my.
So can I get through the next 2 slides and then we can have a little, okay. Okay, so how can the Air District help address illegal dumping? And I want to, you know, really acknowledge everybody's comments just now. And so one of the ways, you know, that I think that the Air District can help is by helping to organize the community steering committee's response and figuring out how to kind of create strategies in the SERP that could address illegal dumping. And so in our next slide, we talk a little bit more about that. You know, as an agency, we have some inroads to the city. And so in that way can have a little bit more, you know, kind of direct line to the city, but that only goes so far. And as you know, I mean, the problem is very, you know, it's daunting. So we, you know, but we can leverage that, you know, those relationships. There are insights from other communities that are experiencing similar situations. What I would say though is that illegal dumping does not appear to be a topic that many SERPs have you know kind of included. So we'll see how we you know kind of address this in our SERP. So, but those are the ways that we can address illegal dumping. And then if you go to the next slide, wanted to kind of lay out some next steps that we've been talking about with co-chairs. And so that would be at next month's community steering committee meeting. We would review best practices and some of the research about the health impacts. And then we could have a session where we think about, you know, basically preparing for a special meeting with Public Works in February. So we could use our December meeting to, you know, kind of brainstorm our ideas and our strategies and tactics that we want to bring forward and talk to the city staff about that. And certainly welcome to hear Khalila's perspective and you know others' perspective as we you know embark on that plan.
Also, you know, we have some new elects coming in as far as January. Some of them we already know. Ken Houston is took over this district over here in Suburban Park area. So we do have an ally. So we could start, yeah.
Could you reach out to Ken Houston? But I know he was probably busy with the elections before the election, so it's moving forward. If you have a connection that can help with that communication,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Yeah, he definitely will help.
Yeah, he'll help.
Definitely so.
So we were speaking on how agency can help. And so far, agency has not written official letters based on CSC members' priorities. We don't see these people in our meetings. And I think that one of the ways that you could officially begin to help us is to begin to build these partnerships. Instead of saying they don't exist, create them. this is what we're supposed to be here for, to build partnerships with businesses and different agencies so that we can work on these problems together. And so my thing is that once we prove that these are health hazards and that Bay Area Air Quality Management District is also responsible for helping to clean up those health hazards, then we could find more creative ways to do it instead of saying, hey, the city has to do it, why don't you put out grants so a community can do it? And so that now we're creating a workforce instead of asking the city to do it when we already know they're not gonna do it. And then if we also use the legal method of the nuisance law, then we can force the city to do it. And so
Mr. Charles, that sounds like a great idea. I want folks to take that down. And also, we're running out of time on this segment. It's about time for us to move on to Deanna's segment here. So is it possible for us to take note of that great idea, do a follow-up offline, and keep things moving with Deanna's section?
Oh, yeah, but we can move on more smoothly than that.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, that was a really good discussion. Thank you everyone for your comments. So I'm Diana. I am going to talk with you about, just give some background information to set the stage for our activity. Next slide, please. So just looking at the big picture for strategy development, this is the structure we've been building over the course of the year. So in the past 3 months, especially, we've made a lot of progress in strategy development. So if you remember, in September, we brought the community concern statements. Then last month, we brought strategy objectives and strategies for built environment, transportation, and urban greening. And with your help, thanks to the feedback that you gave us at last month's meeting, we revised those strategy objectives. So the document that you received on Monday, which is the same one you have here, includes those changes. So, how all this comes together is that the strategy objectives describe the outcomes we want to achieve through the plan, and based on the issues and impacts that are highlighted in the community concern statements. And today we are going to be reviewing examples of potential actions, which are those specific steps we can take through the SERP to help achieve these objectives. But we do want to emphasize that these examples that you have before you in the document are, it's a sample. So it's a small bite of the apple, although they are, we did a lot of work to research them and vet them. So it's not a complete list, and there are many other actions that we can be considering. Next slide, please. In terms of how we wrote how we developed these potential actions, we started by reviewing input from CSE discussions and breakout activities that we held from February to July of this year. We also reviewed policies and actions already adopted in plans by the City of Oakland, such as like the Equitable Climate Action Plan, the EJ element, and we also looked at other SERPs and reports for best practices. And so, taking together this CSE feedback and all of the existing policy, we then identified actions that could directly address the community concerns in East Oakland. We then consulted with Air District technical staff to understand from our technical experts sort of challenges or limitations to implementing those actions, and also to get ideas for other actions that could be effective at reducing emissions. And so the actions that we're considering include actions that can be led by the Air District, as well as other agencies like the City of Oakland, the Port, or the Public Health Department. And because we know that many of the actions do fall outside of Air District authority, it's important for us to collaborate with partner agencies back to, sort of building partnerships to make sure that we develop actions that these agencies can commit to leading and implementing. And we also included a variety of approaches, so from enforcement-based actions to on-the-ground projects like tree planting, air district funding, and community education programs. Next slide, please. So here's an example from the transportation and mobile sources focus area. What we're doing today in small groups is that we're going to take a look at some of the examples, some of these actions, and start talking about implementation details. So for example, we can start identifying which agencies can lead each action, partners that can support the implementation, role for the CSC, and any related initiatives, including community-led programs that can support or be supported by the action. And so this particular action calls for implementing green infrastructure projects, especially around 880. And what we want to hear your thoughts on both the style and the content. So we want to know your initial reactions to these actions. How, do you like the way it's written? How do you feel about the way the action is written? Does it address your concern? Because all of the feedback that we receive tonight is going to help us, is going to guide us in drafting the remainder of the actions, filling in the gaps. And ultimately, this is your plan, so we want to make sure that it works for you and East Oakland communities. Next slide, please. Here's an example from the built environment focus area, and this one calls for supporting the city of Oakland in identifying and expanding green jobs. So just highlighting the language of supporting the city of Oakland. Next slide, please. So we do have a unique but positive challenge in the development of this SERP, because a lot of policies that are aimed at improving air quality are already covered in existing plans. And so in this SERP, instead of duplicating that work, we want to focus on figuring out what has already been implemented, what gaps still remain, and building from there so that we can avoid repeating actions and really focusing on what needs to be done. So for example, here's the East Oakland Mobility Action Plan calls for establishing an electric vehicle education program. So instead of repeating this action in the SERP, we could track its progress by, for example, requesting updates from the City of Oakland Transportation Department on this, the actions they're taking to create this program. So this is something to keep in mind as you're through the discussion today, is rather than duplicating the policies that are already adopted in other plans, how can this SERP support, leverage, track, or hold accountable the agencies that are responsible for adopting those plans? So how do we basically connect the SERP to the other plans that are already been adopted by the city? So that's the presentation. Are there any questions before I pass it on to Carly for the activity?
Yeah, actually, I do. I don't see, I see the example action is what we're proposing, but I think it would be better to show an example action of what somebody has already done. That way we can see what's possible, as opposed to, ooh, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. And that would be more illustrative to everybody that, hey, West Oakland Prescott Green Project is doing this. And if we were gonna do a green project, how would you guys like to see it? As opposed to not seeing an example at all.
Okay.
I just wanted to say something real quick. I'm Thomas, by the way.
Hey, Thomas.
So for example, for Greenway, there's one at Brookfield Elementary School that I actually help maintain, and we create events like MLK Day, Cesar Chavez Day, and if y'all, whenever have free time, y'all could just come up Tuesday or Thursday. I'm there hooking up with some of my interns, and just feel free to come check it out.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Brookfield Elementary School. It's right next to the rec center where the school is at, next, right in front of a FedEx.
Can we put that in chat as well?
They can hear, I'm asking them on chat, they can hear.
Oh.
Thomas, thank you.
And do you have connection with other schools?
Yes.
Because we would love to make that connection and bring the schools into this conversation, because right now they're not.
Okay. I'm gonna see what I can do.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Charles.
Do we have your contact information? We'll exchange it before.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so now it's time for our activity here that we're gonna do today. So CSC members and other East Oakland community members here will review example actions to explore the role of different agencies as leads and partners to implement the action. We'll have 2 breakout rooms you'll be able to self-select from. And so that'll be for in-person and virtual attendees. Each focus on one of the following focus areas: built environment and land use, and urban greening, and then transportation and mobile sources. In these rooms, CSC members will join a small group discussion led by a facilitator. Each breakout room will also have a note taker and support staff. CSC members can share your feedback through group discussion, Zoom chat, or using Google Docs. Okay, so I think, yes, and then some activity instructions here. CSC members will review the example actions, how they work, how they relate to objectives, and discuss the following questions here. What reactions do you have to the example actions? Who are some possible lead agencies or organizations that may be missing, if applicable? Are there other partners that have not been identified? What are the related existing programs, policies, or initiatives, community/grassroots work?
So that's where something like the program at the Brookfield Elementary School could be added to the greening project.
So I think now you will be broken out into, or you will self-select from the 2 focus areas. Okay. And then in-person people will be moving to different rooms for each of the focus areas, the 2 ones that I just mentioned.
For built environment, urban greening, I think we're going to the classroom across the hallway.
And we're not assigned, we can choose.
You can choose.
Transportation can stay here.
Transportation's also moving to another classroom. Yeah, classroom 2 in the corner.
Thank you.
It's for transportation?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not letting people choose because there's pre-assigned. It's not letting people choose because there are pre-assigned members in there. So I have to close and reopen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Environmental.
So it's 30 seconds.
Okay. So I'm gonna leave it right.
Está bien, aquí me quedo.
Can I help?
So the weather making me slow. No, the weather.
Okay, Anna, you guys should be able to select.
Another one coming in.
Whatever room you go, I'm gonna follow.
Let's come in the hallway. And are you able to select? I'm helping with. Yeah. I think he was talking to me, I should just sit around and observe.
Observe this room.
Yeah.
Is this main room serving as a breakout room? Or should there be 2 breakout room options?
Right, because there's a main room. Michaela, there should be, so the main room and then 1 virtual breakout room.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So. Where's, is Nirvana facilitating that? I have her as facilitating the main room. I'm facilitating the main room. Okay. Stepping in for Nirvana. Thank you.
I'm not sure who is currently sharing screen, but I think I'm supposed to be sharing screen for notes and the activity document for this room. So I'm happy to take that over. Thanks.
All right, you should be able to share now.
Great. Give me just 1 second.
Is everyone already split out into the breakout rooms, or are we still waiting for that? They're self-selecting, so if people have already left, then that means they've selected the other breakout room.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do I self-select?
So there should be a feature at the bottom of your screen, like this toolbar that you kind of see down at the bottom of your screen. You should see breakout room. If you click on that button, you should be able to select which breakout room you want to go into. Do you want to be in the transportation focus, Susan, or do you want to be in built environment? I can also manually assign you. Give me 1 sec.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would appreciate that because I don't see breakout room.
No worries.
Well, can
which one do you want to be in, Susan? I already
Doesn't matter.
Oh. You should have received a request to go into the other one. Yeah. Okay, anybody else that has any kind of technical issues or questions, feel free to put that in the chat. Otherwise, for the sake of time, let's get going with our discussion and the activity. So welcome everybody, or I guess you're still here in this main room. The topic for the main virtual room is transportation and mobile sources. And so today we have some example actions to be going through and getting your feedback on. And everyone should hopefully be able to see the screen. Thanks, Sarah, for sharing that. So there are a couple of questions for each of the example actions that we can use as a guide for the discussion. To start, there are 9 strategies. So acknowledging that we probably won't get through all of those, I wanted to first see, is there anyone that has a specific interest in one of these strategies where we want to take a look at the actions there? either feel free to just speak up if you have something you're seeing or put it in the chat.
Las 6 estaría bien hablar de eso también. Ay.
Okay. Okay, 6, expansion of the city's complete streets and Vision Zero policy to prioritize air quality benefits of traffic calming, safety improvements, and reducing traffic congestion, and to minimize the impact of transport trucks in East Oakland. So let's scroll on down to the example actions that we've got there. So we have 2 example actions. If you're in the document yourself, or if you're scrolling through, you can see the name of the strategy and the strategy objective should be familiar. That's what was discussed and got feedback on last month. And so does anyone want to read the 2 actions, and then we can see if one of those stands out to start getting feedback on those? Otherwise, I can read them. I'll do it for the first 2, and maybe for the next one we can get some volunteers so you don't have to listen to me talk quite so much. Okay, so the first example action written out here is for Alameda County, CTC, Caltrans, and CBE in partnership with the Air District and the City of Oakland, engage communities through regular meetings to address transportation impacts, including truck traffic, diesel particulate pollution, and safety measures. All projects will undergo environmental reviews to prevent negative health impacts. That's under community engagement and collaboration. And then a second action example is for traffic calming, safety, and congestion management. That right now reads to implement traffic management strategies to reduce congestion, especially during peak hours, and create temporary and permanent car-free areas to enhance pedestrian safety and reduce vehicle emissions. And so, oh, I forgot to read this, but for the first action, the lead would be of various transportation agencies. And then for the one I just read, the lead implementer for that would be the Oakland Department of Transportation. So if we scroll down a little bit more here, we've got the activity questions. So is there one of those 2 actions that's standing out where we want to go through these? The series of questions is basically, what reaction do you have to the action? Are there some possible lead agencies or organizations that are missing that aren't already identified here? Are there partners that we can identify that would support the action or that haven't been identified in writing so far? And are there related existing programs, policies, or initiatives, or community or grassroots work that we want to note as well? So out of those 2, is one of those standing out as of interest to start with people's reactions to the action?
Puedo dar un comentario, sobre las agencias, ¿verdad? Voy a hablar. CBE está trabajando, ¿verdad? Estamos trabajando bien duro pues estamos tratando de limpiar y identificar, ¿verdad? Los químicos que hay en nuestro aire, en nuestra comunidad. Pero yo ahorita en la actualidad, el condado de Alameda ni el Caltras, yo no he visto, ¿verdad? Con mis propios ojos qué es lo que están haciendo, cómo están ayudando, ¿verdad? Cómo están ayudando en este impacto. No sé si hay una información en algún lugar donde uno lo pueda ver, ¿verdad? Identificar, porque pues sí está claro, lo está haciendo y lo está descubriendo y lo pone, ¿verdad? En el documento lo ponemos, pero los demás no sé. Hasta ahorita pues no soy enterada.
Thank you for that. Anyone else have a reaction to either of these actions? Otherwise, do we want to pick another strategy and move on to that? I'm gonna put in the chat all the list of the strategies so that anyone that's not in the document can see those in the chat.
I see in the chat, Danny wants to focus on strategy number 1.
Oh, yes, thank you. I did see that and I just didn't register. Okay, strategy 1 is around addressing trucking near neighborhoods through health protective policy and zoning, urban greening, and proactive enforcement. Okay. Can I get a volunteer to read these 2 actions out?
I can read if y'all can hear me.
Thank you.
Okay. 1, enforcement. Use proactive coordinated enforcement to uphold high standards in East Oakland. Conduct traffic enforcement spot checks on non-truck routes where trucks are often seen and conduct targeted truck parking enforcement at specific times and locations. Ensure coordinated and prompt response to enforcement of trucking related issues for neighborhoods adjacent to industrially zoned land and within 500 feet of truck routes. And the lead would be CARB with idling and engine compliance, also the City Mobility Division, truck parking, and then the Oakland Police Department, the trucks traveling on truck prohibited streets. And then with the second, permits, policies, rules, and regulations. Their district will study feasibility and approach for a Bay Area indirect source to magnet source policy package. Policy package could include rulemaking, model ordinances, and technical support to local governments to develop their own policies. The lead would be the Air District.
Thank you. Okay, does anyone have an interest in providing your reaction to one of these? Does one stand out?
I can start off. I was gonna say, yeah. I think this sounds really interesting. I feel like a lot of times we'll just see trucks in our neighborhoods and we know they're not supposed to be there, but I think thinking about enforcement is always really important. And then I like the zoning element in the strategy and always naming that because I feel like that is the cause to a lot of the issues in East Oakland is just how things are zoned in terms of the city. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Do people feel like, so for action 1, do you feel like you have information in your community about what enforcement is going on, about how to report violations that you think are going on? You know, we had this conversation about 311 earlier with respect to illegal dumping. Do you feel like you have knowledge about what the mechanisms are related to trucks?
¿Puedo opinar? ¿Dar un comentario sobre eso? Yo creo que no. Yo creo que hace falta, ¿verdad? Siempre he dicho que hace mucha falta el involucrar a la comunidad. Mucha gente no sabe de todo este número, ¿verdad? Que llamamos al 311, donde reportamos todas las actividades que hay, ¿verdad? Yo nunca he visto, ¿verdad? Que nunca ha llegado un volante donde diga el 311, ¿verdad? Está haciendo esto. Sí, debía de haber más información para nuestras comunidades, más alcance, porque mucha de la comunidad no sabe de todos estos proyectos que se están haciendo, ¿verdad? En nuestras comunidades y cómo ayudar, ¿sí? Igual, ¿verdad? Estoy de acuerdo con lo que dijo la Maquila, que la zonificación es algo bien importante, ¿sí? Identificar dónde está más contaminado, ¿verdad? Puede haber un área más contaminada y otra menos, pero tenemos que identificar cómo lo vamos a hacer, haciendo los estudios. Gracias.
I'll just uplift the stuff in the chat, but yeah, Danny said that there's not a lot of info on reporting trucks, so more information would be valuable. Jackie said like a similar thing, and then also wondering how West Oakland engaged people. And then and Jerry asked a question around local law enforcement and if they're aware of the different like trucking and zoning rules.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, here's a question also. Are you aware of any existing programs, policies, initiatives, community or grassroots work around this with respect to enforcement around trucks? Are there any groups that are focused on this issue that you know are active, or is that also a question mark?
I can just make a quick plug that CBE will be releasing an updated truck study. I think the last one we did was about a decade ago, but we work with community members to do like manual truck counts. So you set up for certain hours during the day, and some of you may have participated in the study, in which case, thank you so much for doing that. So we're in the process of all the data analysis and writing the report. So I don't have a firm date on when that's expected to be published, but I think that will also be a helpful tool to get like a real on the ground check of where things are. So happy to share updates when I hear them from our research team.
Great. Okay, does anybody have any thoughts on either the magnet source rule, the indirect source rule, or is there another strategy that is standing out to anybody from those 9 that you want to hop to?
For me, I was gonna say maybe strategy 2 around like transit, biking, pedestrian infrastructure.
Great, thanks.
Perfect. Before we move off of this, I just wanted to mention, sorry, not to talk too much, but the stationary source committee at the Air District. I believe the next meeting in the new year, they're planning to talk more about, present more on trucking and warehousing and how that could interact with indirect source rules. So, you know, we'll share out information so that people can tune into that meeting if they want, or review materials ahead of time if you're not able to attend, and make comment. And, you know, if folks have questions about that material or anything around that, or want to discuss it more, you know, it's a area I'm particularly interested in, so always happy to talk, but we'll pass that information along. I think it's just important to know that it's a discussion that's very actively in development at their district. There's already work and research happening. So I think it's important to just keep an eye on that progress, and to give everybody an opportunity to weigh in on pushing that progress forward. And with that, I will shut up and move us over to strategy 2.
Great, thank you for that update. Yes. Okay, so strategy 2 around improved and beautified streetscapes and transit, bike, and pedestrian infrastructure improvements. So does somebody want to volunteer to read these two? They're pretty short and sweet.
I can read them.
Thank you.
So yeah, expanding transit mobility sharing programs, provide technical assistance to East Oakland organizations that want to bulk purchase AC Transit Easy Passes for employees or members, and implement recommendations from the Clean Mobility Options to MLK Junior Shoreline Project.
Thank you. Okay, anyone have a reaction to either of these actions that you want to share?
Sí, yo puedo dar un comentario. Están hablando de que vamos, ¿verdad? Queremos mejorar las calles, las estructuras, ¿verdad? Hacer algo para las bicicletas, para nuestros niños, nuestras personas de la tercera edad. Es algo bien importante esto, sí. Pero yo no sé, ¿verdad? Para hacer estas cosas, si haya fondos, porque a mí me gustaría, ¿verdad? Que se hiciera, que se implementara, sí, porque eso le hace falta aquí a Oakland, sí. Hay que pensar en las personas de la tercera edad o con discapacidad, ¿verdad? Que ellos necesitan su silla, y por medio de esos desarrollos de las calles, ellos pueden disfrutar de un aire limpio, ¿verdad? De un buen lugar, ¿sí? Porque ahorita hay muchos peligros para ellos. Entonces debemos de decir que se cumplan, ¿sí? Y que haya esos fondos, porque lo estamos poniendo aquí, pero no sé si se va a cumplir o cómo lo vamos a monitorear. Gracias.
Thank you. Michaela?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I agree. I think throughout all of these strategies, funding and capacity is the biggest thing to make sure it actually gets done. I was also going to say that these example actions are interesting, but at least for me, are very limiting on at least what I would want to see in East Oakland. So I don't really see anything about walkability of the streets, which I think also ties into kind of like land use planning, illegal dumping, you know, social services for different groups so we can make sure people are feeling safe and comfortable in the streets. Also, making sure like walking is accessible for people that are using like strollers or other mobility devices. Also, you know, maybe having more local green space to walk to, or like community gathering spaces that people feel comfortable walking to. Yeah, I guess I would want to see it being expanded more. I do like the kind of like accessibility and transportation, but I think that also brings up around like bus routes in East Oakland. Do they actually work for people? Are people actually taking like the bus? And I will say I definitely love the like easy transit to the MLK shoreline. And then maybe enhancing some of the walking paths and like pedestrian bridges that lead to that area also.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Great, thank you. Definitely capturing that in the notes.
Hi, this is Kelsey with Caltrans. I focus more on freight, but I do know some things about bike and pedestrian planning. So I did mention the Safe Routes to School program, which kind of addressed Maria's comment about having safe networks for children that want to get to and from school easily. That's a grant program that you know, y'all can apply for potential projects. And then also maybe prioritizing streets in East Oakland that are on the high injury network. Like those streets would be the first ones to be addressed, or, you know, identify projects on those high injury network streets first, and then kind of go down the prioritization list.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Can I put a comment on that? What she just
Yes,
said, I believe that as well. I think the high injury areas need to be helped first. And when we talk about walkways and streetways, in East Oakland, there's not really a walkway. If you want, like down San Leandro, down MacArthur, there's not really a walkway like you go down in West Oakland, and you know, they have a trail that you can walk down the street, and there's not any of those access really in East Oakland. Our sidewalks are covered in either trash or just cars, so the access to should be cleared first, and then you know, just like she said, those high injury, those, you know, those accidents that, you know, where homicides, you know, people get hit, and those areas need to be, you know, dealt with first.
great, thank you. Anyone else have anything on this one, or do you want to go to another strategy? So the remaining ones that we have, I'll read them. I was trying to put them in the chat, but it keeps looking like I'm sending a link, so I'm sorry I didn't do that yet. Strategy 3 is on funding and incentivizing zero emission technology. 4 is on a comprehensive truck management program and reduction of freight impacts. 5 is with respect to the future of the I-580 truck ban. 7 is road dust and greening of transportation corridors. So a little bit of a link there with the beautified streetscapes and just helping with safety linkage. 8 is on the electrification of ground operations at the Oakland airport and protection of worker and community health. And then 9 is on the Port of Oakland collaboration and accountability to community and environmental organizations, which I believe that's on the airport as well. Anything standing out to anyone?
Number 8.
Thanks. Okay, let's go to. Does anyone want to read? There's 2 here. Does anyone want to read those? And then we'll go to 7 next. I'll read this one. Okay, so first action is to have the port require, or if there's any limitation on their authority there, incentivize that all of the fossil fuel powered ground support equipment operators transition to electric. So that's with respect to baggage carts, tractors, belt loaders, aircraft pushback tractors, and a lot of the other ground support equipment that you can see listed out here. And the concern there is from diesel particulate matter and how that impacts those around the operation of those equipment. Second action is for CARB to adopt zero emission airport ground operations regulation to require zero emissions taxiing, ground support equipment, and gate operations. So anyone have any reactions to either of those actions?
Sí, en este caso, ¿verdad? Estamos hablando sobre el aeropuerto, ¿verdad? Sabemos que se va a abrir, ¿verdad? Ya el 21, vamos a ver si se toma, ¿verdad? Si se toma ese paso o se rechaza, ¿verdad? Yo estoy preocupada, ¿verdad? Porque yo vivo aquí junto al 880 y estoy cerca a la 98 y pues la verdad el aeropuerto me ha afectado. Yo pienso que debemos de exigir, ¿verdad? Que haya transparencia en la forma de que ellos den que la agencia, ¿verdad? Que nos enseñe claro cuál es la contaminación que está ahorita, actualmente, y la que va a venir. Sí, porque muchas veces, ¿verdad? Hacen las cosas y no toman a la comunidad en cuenta, ¿verdad? Cómo ha sido perjudicada. Entonces, necesitamos ser estrictos nosotros como comunidad, que nos enseñen cuál es la verdadera contaminación que se está dando en la actualidad. Porque muchas veces, ¿verdad? Nosotros no vemos los datos, no vemos el polvo que nos está contaminando, pero está en el aire. Sí, y queremos que trabaje con cero, ¿verdad? Emisiones el aeropuerto. Porque ya sabemos que la salud de nuestros empleados o de nosotros mismos que vivimos en esta área está siendo perjudicada. Gracias.
Thank you. And I'm gonna call out that I know that CBE is very involved in this area with respect to the airport expansion and impacts. And so I'm gonna add them as partners that can support the action under C in that table. Do we have anything else on this? Okay, I'm seeing some hands up. I think Michaela.
Yeah, I was gonna uplift Andrea's note in the comment around like the flight paths. And then I was also going to say, yeah, I agree with this in terms of kind of like current operations at the airport and like electrifying them. And then also think I wanted to expand this to the potential expansion, and then ask for like agency support to make it not happen, if that's like a feasible thing. I know the expansion is kind of like a current conversation that's going on also. So maybe asking the city and like the air district specifically for support to fight against that campaign, especially since it'll increase air pollution and decrease community health. So yeah, that's just what I was going to add.
Okay, we have 6 minutes. Do we want to continue conversation on this or do we want to jump to strategy 7?
I think strategy 7, unless other folks had comments.
Okay, thank you. All right, strategy 7.
Ale.
This is on road dust control and greening of transportation corridors. So the 2 actions that are listed out here, the first one is to implement green infrastructure projects and additional buffer zones around freeways, particularly near I-880. And so there's a variety of leads listed out here, including community-based organizations, Oakland DOT, and Public Works. And then second action is on street sweeping and road dust management. So enhanced street sweeping programs in neighborhoods focusing on equitable outcomes, including studies to identify areas in need, especially communities impacted by disinvestment, analyzing road dust emission rates and incorporating best management practices such as street sweeping at construction and industrial sites into regulatory measures, evaluating program effectiveness through feedback groups, and increasing street sweeping frequency near schools, truck routes, and freeways. Any reactions to either of those? Marina?
Sí, yo puedo hablar sobre el 880. Me gustaría que se sembraran más árboles, ¿verdad? Que hubiera más proyectos de árboles sobre el 880, principalmente, ¿verdad? Hay muchos lugares donde no hay árboles, entonces, para impedir un poco la contaminación a nuestra comunidad. Eso sería algo importante, ¿verdad? Que nos ayudaría a reducir un poco, porque sabemos qué cantidad de carros pasan al día y noche, no tenemos descanso. Si mis carros se llenan de muchísimo polvo, así limpio diario el carro, amanece lleno. Entonces me gustaría esa estrategia que sí se sembraran esos árboles. Es algo importante.
Thank you. Anyone else? Jackie?
Yeah, I just want to say, I think this connects back to the point about like illegal dumping, because I think that's important to work together just with like, I know I've seen places where like trees were planted. I don't know if it's like by community orgs. And then the trees have kind of like not been able to really grow because like illegal dumping has happened where they were planted. So kind of making sure those 2 are working together.
Thank you. Michaela?
Yeah, agree with all that. I'll also add in tree maintenance, and like dedicated funding, for tree maintenance, because I know that doesn't happen a lot. And then also kind of using tree plantings, tree maintenance as like a workforce development piece to provide kind of like green job force training. So yeah.
Great, thank you. I just realized as well at the beginning, I was supposed to ask if anybody would be willing to do a report out when we go back to the larger group. Is there anyone from the CSC that wants to do that report out on kind of what we talked about?
I can.
Okay, I also see Marina's hand up. Okay, her hands. Okay, thank you, Michaela.
For sure.
Much appreciated. Okay, we actually got through a lot on this. So yeah, good feedback from everyone. What are the ones that we didn't cover? I think we talked about the airport. There was a little bit more around that. And maybe the 580 truck ban, I think, and like comprehensive truck management is probably the only thing we didn't get to specifically, but you know, we still had conversations around trucks and those impacts. So I think we actually did a pretty good job covering this.
Yeah, if I could just chime in real quick. Again, my name's Kelsey with Caltrans District 4. I do freight and system planning, and I'm actually going to be the contract manager of the I-580 truck access study, which will look at the potential removal of the I-580 truck ban and what that would mean for the I-580 corridor and the I-880 corridor. So if y'all have any thoughts about that, I can type my email in the chat, and you can email me your thoughts about it since we haven't had time. We should be kicking off in winter of 2025, which I know sounds vague, but we're hoping for a kickoff in February. We will have extensive public engagement, so we will hear your thoughts. This is definitely going to be a community-led discussion too. So it's coming. Caltrans has worked very hard to get the contract through. So it should be coming in 2025. And I'll put my email in the chat if you all want to talk to me about your thoughts about strategy number 5 and what Caltrans can do about it.
Amazing. Thank you.
Sí, necesitamos trabajos.
Okay, I think people are coming back into this main room in not very long. But yeah, thank you, everybody. And if you have any other thoughts afterwards, you know, reach out to anyone on staff and we can add to this.
That usually happens. You get friends that come.
You're in charge of, yeah, you're in charge of getting her.
Bro, you can't leave this room. Erica really needs to be
Erica, can you screen share, please? Screen share. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We're gonna get going again.
David, I got another David.
Pretty basic, don't get much more basic than that.
Okay, now we did that. That's my father's
No, you sound like that, I all the time.
Oh, you're talking about, no, not that.
Because we still have report outs and stuff. We're now behind schedule.
Just sorry. I don't know, there's like.
Waited on me.
Everyone's almost in. Is that it?
No, we're still waiting for it.
Oh, sorry. I know him now.
How did it go? Yeah, I didn't use the map, so did you? It's hard, you did use it? Good.
Yeah, sorry.
Waiting.
Okay. All right, everyone. Hope everyone had, oops, let me go next to the speaker. Hope everyone had some really fruitful conversation on example actions. Maybe we can start with the people online. If anyone wanted to share from built environment and land use or transportation and mobile sources. Some key takeaways from tonight.
Yeah, I'll go. This is Allison, and we did not get a volunteer, so I get to talk. We had a good conversation about land use strategies, including talking about the role of the community and the role of the city in making things happen. We identified, people had questions about some actions that were not very specific, and things that were more specific resonated with folks. And folks also had really good ideas about partner organizations who are working in this area who could weigh in on some of the actions and really enrich our understanding and the success of these actions. So anybody else want to jump in and add any specifics that I missed, please do. Otherwise,
Sorry, I just want to, there's a little bit of background noise. If we can keep it a little lower for the people online. Cool. Thanks, Allison. Yeah, is there
Okay.
anyone else? Okay. Okay. How about from transportation and mobile sources online?
Yeah, I can share out. So yeah, we got through, I feel like, a lot of our strategies. We talked a lot about kind of the first few rules around trucking and like zoning, identifying zoning as a key source of a lot of the issues in East Oakland. And then also just kind of shared our lived experiences around seeing trucks in areas that we know they're not like necessarily supposed to be. Um, Also kind of talked about like walkability and transit mobility. Felt like the strategies and actions presented were a little limiting. And so I think our group talked a lot about like walkability, safe streets, how to walk in East Oakland and make it like enjoyable for folks. And then I think we talked about vegetative buffers and kind of using that as like a job force, workforce development training opportunity also. Um, so yeah, I think that was like most of it, but if anyone wants to jump in, feel free.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Michaela. All right. Does someone feel ready to share from built environment and land use or transportation and mobile sources in person?
Built environment, he's not here yet.
Oh, okay. So maybe transportation and mobile sources?
Yeah, I can give the report back.
Can everyone hear Alicia?
Hi.
Okay. Yeah, I'll move.
Okay, so for transportation and mobile sources in person, we started off by talking about the concept around buffers, around 580 vegetative buffers. And so there was conversation about, how it's been working in West Oakland and that it's been a pretty lengthy permitting process. And we noted that the lead for that project in West Oakland is a community-based organization. So just noting that. We talked about trucking. We talked about the sort of the small mom and pop trucking operators who need a lot of kind of administrative support to file for the grants in order to upgrade their trucks. And then talked about a little bit. We tried to kind of add a little bit more detail about where we would want to see buffers and kind of correlating that with on-ramps. So kind of get back to the buffers, and talked a little bit about the airport strategies and thinking about incentives and how we would want to, do we want in our plan, do we want to kind of incentivize anything that will be required, or if the port is already actively kind of pursuing a plan for electrification, does it make sense to put our incentive money towards those ends? And also talked about truck management more generally. So talked about what is the footprint of the port in East Oakland? What is the need for container storage, and kind of like sort of what's the land use impact of the Port of Oakland? And also when we think about truck management, we can have a strategy that is written a little bit more high level, a little more succinctly, and then have kind of backup that states that we know, that there's overweight trucking issues. And so, that we want to really make sure that we get as many trucks onto 880 as possible. I think there's issues around weight limits on 880. So just making sure that we have details somewhere, but it doesn't necessarily have to be included in the action itself, maybe in an appendix, so that we kind of capture all those little details. Anything else that I missed? Thanks.
Oh yeah. So we'll have Thomas from Higher Ground report out for the built environment and land use focus area.
You were in front of the camera, my man.
and just talk about what we
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty much. Just like talk about like, you know, the key points what we talked about and like, yeah.
Okay. 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 So pretty much what we had talked about is maintaining the greenway and also air quality and also how we can use the $8 million that I was just aware of to make projects, and how can we help the community in elementary schools through high school, and how we can bring in those youth to actually make a workforce. And
What about that recycled water?
oh, for the greenway.
Yeah,
Okay.
what did we talk about?
So for East Bay Mud, if possible, there can be like a little project to connect the recycled water all the way down the tubing line to Brookfield Elementary and some other greenways that possibly in the future can be built in some other schools.
And we also talked about inside air infiltration systems and multi-unit dwellings.
Right.
And having.
We talked about a lot. We talked about a lot.
Yeah, but we did talk about having returning family members and unhoused residents trained in air infiltration systems and how to put them in a housing unit.
Right, how to bring them in and help them out, yeah.
Yes, especially since that is a part of Oakland policy now. And we also spoke about the nuisance policy in Oakland and being able to use that to enforce them to do their damn job, right?
Right.
So yeah, no, you did a good report back though, man.
Okay, so I'll lay out some next steps real quick. So the Air District core team will compile actions for transportation mobile sources and built environment and land use and urban greening. The core team of the Air District will share draft actions with CSE and schedule work session early February. And the core team from the Air District will also initiate review on the draft actions with partner agencies and possibly invite them to the work session later on. Oh, I think something's a bit wrong with the, oh, sorry, I missed one last step. So it's not on here, and I'll make sure to email CSE members to remind. But CSE members will have until November 22nd, next Friday, to give further feedback on example actions. I'll email you all with the Google Doc, and we'll make sure to translate it for Marina. And then Miss Cecilia, I can deliver you the paper probably. CSE members can receive up to 1 stipended hour for the CSE homework. Okay. All right, great. And from there on, I think it's great.
It's a 3-minute break, so
3
up
minutes.
to you guys.
3 minutes.
Yeah, it's a 3-minute break.
Yeah, I think.
Don't nobody go nowhere.
Yes.
Literally, look at your phone and look up.
Oh, thank you.
Or say skibidi. Skibidi.
Okay.
It's a little mean thing that pops.
Like skibidi toilet. My kids are so mean. My daughter, in here real dark
Okay.
quiet.
Okay. Break.
All right, we're coming back. Break is over.
Oh, sorry. about
Thanks,
that.
Raven.
Yep.
All right, everyone, gonna bring our attention to Anish.
Sorry, Anish.
Yeah.
We back.
Erica, can I get next slide? Yeah, so.
Sorry.
I think this is, I think it's two things on.
No, is somebody else's mic on?
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Carly.
All right. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I wanted to do a quick report out and update on some community outreach and engagement that that the Air District and CBE and some of our CSE members have been involved in and doing to share information about the work that we're doing here. And so a couple of those events, some recent ones were a 40 by 40 neighborhood empowerment day held at the Parker Community Resource Center. That was on the 28th. That was organized by Roots, and were invited by CSC member Jamaica Solwell, and Carly and I attended and boothed at that event and shared information and encouraged folks there to join our meetings. And then on October 19th, Carly from CBE attended the Lotus Bloom Fall Resource and Craft Fair that was held here at Youth Uprising. And that was another opportunity where she was able to talk with community members and share information about the East Oakland SERP process. And then I, as well as some other Air District staff, attended an event on the 19th near Argent Materials at the second annual Community Environmental Awareness and Empowerment Block Party. And that was co-organized by two CSE members, Mr. Charles Reed and Bill Krotiger. And next slide, please. So we're going to continue to look for and sign up to attend future events as we hear about them. If you hear about any community events, feel free to share those to us, with us, and we will try to get out there to them. We're also launching a mini grant program. This will be round 2 of kind of like some grants to support community engagement and outreach for the East Oakland SERP. You may remember that we had a grant. We worked with 4 organizations. We partnered with 4 organizations to help us do some community outreach and get some participation in that community mapping project. Well, we're going to continue that. We're going to work with those 4 organizations again, as well as one other one that missed out last time. We had some additional funds, and so one of the organizations that applied to and wasn't able to get a grant, we're going to work with them this time around. Grant sizes are going to be a little bit larger than the previous round. They're going to be up to $10,000 per organization. We have a total fund of $50,000 available. And the eligible organizations are obviously community-based organizations with a 501c3 nonprofit status, who again previously worked with us or applied for that first round. And we anticipate the funded projects will begin in the new year and conclude in July 2025. And similar to that first round, we'll invite those grantees to come and present to you all and share a summary of their work. But the goal here is to work with these organizations to spread the word, spread the word about the East Oakland SERP, and try to really drive up and increase community participation in this process, especially now that we're working on developing strategies and actions. We want to start getting their feedback, community feedback on that.
Next slide, please. Are there any questions here?
Yo quisiera saber qué organizaciones son las que van a trabajar en los suicidios. ¿Ya están o apenas tienen que aplicar?
It's already done. We're basically working with the same organizations that we worked with previously through the previous round solicitation. So that's Higher Ground, Lifers Leaving a Legacy, East Oakland Collective, Sequoia Foundation. Is that 5? Oh, and Recess Fund.
The next round, you'll open it up for more community members that have a CBO.
Lo puede poner en el chat.
Yeah, we can put those organizations in the chat.
I guess I'm curious to hear a little more about those engagements, kind of what was discussed, how we're kind of asking folks to engage and contribute. And I guess to the same point, like, is there kind of a blueprint for how those funds would be used and kind of what types of outcomes as far as engagement we're hoping to see from that?
Well, we've just initiated conversations with those organizations about this new round in this in the project. I'm actually I haven't met with them individually yet. Those are going to start. I'm going to start meeting with them tomorrow and going forward. But essentially, what we're going to be looking for is their support in going out in the community and sharing information about the East Oakland Serve, the strategies and actions, the work being done here, and trying to find ways to, one, increase participation or attendance in these meetings, and also where possible to get feedback on the draft strategies and outcomes. And so we'll work with those individual organizations to develop a work plan, and then we'll go from there.
Denise, wasn't that how the community mapping project played out last year? Is that a lot of the organizations that you just gave funding
No,
to?
so yeah, so
help drive that?
Yeah, so the plan was, since we've already worked with these organizations.
Oh, we're just showing him it.
Since we've already worked with these organizations to do the outreach to the community on the community mapping project, we wanted to re-engage them to continue that.
By the way, Andrea has a hand
Okay.
online. Andrea, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say this is great news, and I'm so glad to hear that there's an investment in community and that there's going to be so many more people out there in Oakland spreading the word about what's going on. And yeah, this is just good stuff. So yeah, thank you.
Are there any more hands?
No, but
I think Bill wanted to make an announcement, and so did Charles. Yeah.
Just a couple things. I appreciate your time. I did want to say, on the topic of illegal dumping, we picked up over 1 million pounds of illegally dumped material in East Oakland, so you could tap into what we've found out. I'm happy to share that and work with anybody on that topic. 2 events. One, a couple days from now, Saturday, the same place where Mr. Charles' event was. We have a fundraiser for a young woman who was hit in traffic on the 5 freeway. It's a car wash to gather money to bring her family, her mother and father from Columbia, to be by her bedside. She's not doing very well. So that's at the 8501 San Leandro. And then the following Saturday, which is the 23rd, is Argent's big turkey giveaway event. I want everyone to know, because we give away a lot of turkeys, and to not offer to the group that I'm with every month, we would be remiss. And so turkey pie. So I think last year we gave away about 1,600 turkeys. So if you want some, let me know, or please come by. Yeah, well, we start at 10.
Okay, is that Saturday?
Saturday.
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Everyone will get. I'll make sure that everyone gets. You know about it, so you can come if you want.
Okay. Can we volunteer?
you can volunteer, yes.
And last year you didn't have pie, right?
No, we had pie last year.
No. Yes, y'all had pie last year?
You came late.
Oh, so I missed that.
I got pie.
All right, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who supported, our event. We got a chance to celebrate community members who don't normally get recognized for the work they do in the community. I did have to, make sure that we recognize Miss Margaret, who is here today, for all of her work in, being a trailblazer in the environmental movement. So can we give her a hand for that? But we also want to work more closely with West Oakland and other environmental groups to bridge the gap. Because right now we need to be building bridges, not silos. And so we're looking forward to building bridges in the future, using these grant opportunities to do more outreach and working with people like the Port of Oakland. We've been able to enter into some grants. So we're going into a very interesting age, you guys, of equity. And I'm just glad to be a part of this and to have everybody else be a part of this. And I do want to say that now I can talk all the stuff I want to because I got my record expunged today.
Felicidades.
I wanted to say something right quick. I just want to thank all the CSC members for attending. I would like to see more of you guys outside at some of these events representing the surf. You know, we need to get our names out there and our names on the street so we can have more action items and we can push forward as a community. So I definitely want to thank you guys for participating. And anybody want to close it out?
Want to thank y'all for being outside, but I think Miss Cecilia has something to say.
I just
Go
want
ahead.
to ask a question, Bill. Now, when is the giveaway? Because I'd like to be a volunteer if I can see what they do.
The 23rd,
The 23rd of this month,
we start 10 a.m.
10 a.m. And it'll be at
501 Stanley Andrews Street.
If I'm available, I'm gonna come get you, Mrs. Cecilia.
Okay, that's the 23rd. I
Okay,
got okay, at 10 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good.
Flyers will be going out to all CSC members so that they have the exact date and time and everything. And we want to thank everybody for another beautiful meeting once again.
Please fill out the
Thank you.
validation forms. Thank you.
Oh, please fill out those surveys. We need to hear your voices, y'all. And we can't hear your voices if you don't fill them out. So please fill out your survey.
And we can't represent you.
There's online, I put it in the chat.
Thank you guys, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, everyone.
That's how to do it.
I'm gonna throw the pins.
Thank you, everyone.
Gracias a la traductora también.
Thank
Gracias
you.
a todos.
Oh, yeah.
Nos vemos pronto. Gracias. Hasta la próxima. Igualmente, bendiciones.
Thank you.
Hasta luego.
Thank you, everyone.